Minister, will you provide us with an update of the waiting list for the craft apprenticeships and the progress in decentralising the craft apprenticeship model? When I raised this with you last month, Minister, there had been a 17% increase in apprentices waiting to access off-the-job training over the 2 months prior, with figures back up to just under 10,000. And what progress has been made on reducing the backlog? You know I will ask you this question every single time we have questions in here. Thank you.
You do indeed, Deputy, in fairness, and it's an important one as well because, as the Deputy is aware, the backlog in craft apprenticeship training was very genuinely a result of the adverse impact of COVID public health restrictions. The sector has worked very hard, as I know the Deputy and I agree on, to try and alleviate that situation. In responding to these restrictions, it has been a priority to seek to facilitate, where possible, access to on-site teaching and learning for essential skills-based activities such as apprenticeships. A detailed and comprehensive emergency plan to tackle the apprenticeship waiting list has been underway across further and higher education since August 2021, when some training facilities started to reopen. At that point, 11,859 apprentices were delayed in their training. The Deputy knows we allocated a €20 million in additional capital investment. This did provide a very large increase in workshops and equipment in every training location in the country. We provided on top of that 20 million an additional 17 million in budget 2022 to further facilitate solace in the HEA's response, including a significant recruitment campaign to increase the number of trainers. I'm pleased to say of that 11,859, 7,500 apprentices who were delayed in their training have now progressed in their off-the-job training. This includes over 600 final year apprentices who have been fast-tracked to complete their qualification. So the number waiting at the end of February was standing at 7,796, which is a significant decrease on January's figure of 9,570. My department, Solace and other apprenticeship partners are continuing to work actively on further measures to ensure that waiting times are resolved, enabling apprentices to progress through their apprenticeship as quickly as is feasible. And by the end of the year, Solace have committed that the very vast majority, if not all, of apprentices waiting for Phase 2 placement will have commenced their training, and it's expected that by April the backlogs for Phase 4 and Phase 6 will be cleared.
Thank you, Minister, because 2021 saw only 1,798 apprentices become fully qualified tradespeople. That is close to 600, fewer than it was in 2020, and represents the lowest number of newly qualified tradespeople since 2017. And you know this is not as a result of the lack of interest by young people in taking up apprenticeships or a lack of demand from the construction sector. This has been caused by a lack of capacity in the off-site classroom training that each apprentice needs to progress. I do welcome the capital funding, Minister. It was absolutely vital, badly needed. I do want to see some of it go to Ballyhonus, where they have had a proposal in since last June for a further education and training centre, and that will facilitate the existing classes that they're doing, but also facilitate apprenticeships. I really want to single out Ballyhonus because you know Ballyhonus has dozens of foreign nationals. They are doing a brilliant job as a community in building the capacity in those people, but having this centre will make all the difference.
Particularly for raising the issue of Ballyhonus, I'll certainly ask my officials to engage with Solace in relation to that. There is a competitive call underway now. From my memory, applications are due by the first week of April, and it will be up to the local ETBs to prioritise the projects that they want to see funded in the first competitive capital call, and I'll make sure Ballyhonus, my officials and Solace are aware of that. I do think the Deputy does point out to the reduced number of apprentices who fully qualified in a year. We do also need to be truthful, I suppose, in terms of why that was. I mean, we did obviously have significant lockdowns, significant restrictions as a result of the COVID pandemic. I have seen heroic work done across the sector and people trying to reduce those times now that the sector is back at full throttle. We have allocated a massive amount of additional support. I know Solace would acknowledge that. I know the ETBs would. We're taking on additional trainers. We are saying by April the backlog for Phase 4 and 6 will be cleared. We're saying by the end of the year the waiting list for Phase 2 will effectively be cleared, if not fully cleared. And myself and Minister Collins, who's away in government business tonight, will be monitoring this very closely, and you'll be asking me every time as well, I know.
Yeah, Minister, it's about getting through, it's about somebody taking up an apprenticeship and being able to do that apprenticeship in the given length of time in 4 years, and so that they will know that. I'm concerned about the dropout rate as well, and Minister, maybe that's a figure we can look out as well at another date. We don't want people dropping out of apprenticeships. We know that the state has saved 55 million mostly from apprentice allowance, but reinvested just 37 million back into it. And apprentices haven't been treated with the same consideration and importance as other third level students, but they're absolutely vital to our economy and vital right across with the development in the regions and the opportunities that are presented there, whether it will be in renewable energies, construction and everything that needs to be done. I'm also concerned about the backlog has actually been used as a justification for reforming the traditional craft apprenticeship model. There has been almost now real debate in the explanation as to why they're planning to dismantle the traditional craft apprenticeship model in favour of a decentralised and industrial-led approach. And I just wanted to know from you, what's the rationale for that change? I am concerned about that change in particular.
Yeah, so firstly, I think the Deputy makes a fair point in relation to the voice of the apprentice. I mean, if I want to talk to third level students, higher education, I talk to the USI. If I want to talk to university presidents, I talk to the IUA, TIA, etc. But who does one talk to when they want to talk to the apprentice on the front line, other than going around visiting apprenticeship centres, which you and I do? The new National Apprenticeship Alliance, which we're just literally establishing, we've just signed off on the composition of it, will for the first time have apprentices having a voice, which I think is really important, a voice in solace, a voice for you to talk to, for me to talk to, the voice of the apprentice being heard. I do think that's important. I want to assure the Deputy there's nothing to do with COVID backlogs or anything else in the idea of having a new structure in relation to decentralising the craft apprenticeship model. The idea is to have one structure for all our apprenticeship programmes. We now have 62 apprenticeship programmes. The crafts, the trades are so important, but so too is the account technician, the people working in insurance, the farm manager, the hairdresser. We need to have one unified system. This will be done in absolute consultation with stakeholders, with staff unions, with trade unions. Their voices will absolutely be heard. So there's no motive in this other than genuinely trying to create a modern, fit for purpose, unified apprenticeship system.